Esteemed Chancellor, Professor Ram Gopal Rao, Vice Chancellor, Mr. Gaur, Professor Padai, everyone, the distinguished Board of Governors, the administration, members of the faculty, proud parents, and most importantly, the graduating class of BITS Pilani. Warm greetings and my congratulations to the class of 2025 and to everyone here who has made this possible. Standing here today amidst the energy of your achievements, I can almost sense the quiet buzz of anticipation. Looking at your faces, eager and a little anxious, but mostly filled with hope, I am reminded of my own graduation day. I remember being a wide-eyed student standing at the edge of the unknown, feeling as if the whole world had paused for a moment to see what might come next. That sense of possibility of infinite paths stretching out before you is what makes this moment so special. But above all else, remember this: the world is truly your oyster. From here, your journeys will take shape in different ways. Some of you will jump into the fast-paced world of business, while others will dive deeper into research and higher studies. Given the caliber of talent produced by BITS, I am confident that many of you will go on to build game-changing startups. You will become leaders of the nation. Whatever your path, it starts now. It is yours to shape for the future. You all stand on the shoulders of giants. The journey of your alma mater is nothing short of extraordinary. From its beginnings as an humble Pathshala which was founded by the late Shivnarayanji Birla to the BITS Pilani we know today, created by a succession of visionaries from the Birla family. Formally established in 1964, this institution has become a shining example of excellence not just in India, but overseas. But beyond the rankings and reputations, I want you to reflect on what have you really gained here. More than solving equations or writing thousands of lines of codes for projects, there is something more that has governed your lives. The founders of our great technical institutions captured the essence of learning with meaning and purpose. They spoke of the head, the heart, and the hands. Your time at BITS has sharpened your heads. You have developed the intellect to think critically, to analyze, and to solve complex problems. Your time has also nurtured your heart. You have grown in empathy, in your ability to understand the broader impact of your work on people and society. You have dealt with the emotions of peers, of faculty, in your relationship with each other. Some hearts have possibly been mended, some have been broken. You have trained your hands. You have built the skills to design, to create, and to turn ideas into reality. This combination is what makes you more than just a technician. It makes you a builder, a problem solver, and someone capable of a real lasting impact. Our great philosopher, J. Krishnamurti, has said that intelligence is the capacity to perceive the essential, the what is, and to awaken this capacity in oneself and in others is education. That is exactly what your BITS education has set in motion. I learned my message as a child in a book called Cry the Beloved Country, written by Alan Paton, which spoke about discrimination in apartheid Africa. That message has remained with me, that the road to justice, reconciliation, and even hope must travel through the roads of suffering. It is an unflinching work that examines pain head-on, not to exalt pain, but to demonstrate that the only way to transform is to face adversity head-on with bravery. A few years later, or many years later, when I was traveling by the Mahalakshmi Express from Mumbai to Kolhapur as an administrative judge of the Bombay High Court, I read The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck, which began with a straightforward and unadulterated truth. Life is difficult, he says. However, it doesn't stop there. And he remarks, life is no longer difficult once we truly understand and accept that it is difficult. I was able to make sense of my personal journey by using those words, which turned every setback into a teaching moment. This brings me to the theme of my address, the evolving role and responsibility of those who shape science and technology. Today, being an engineer, a technologist, or researcher is about more than technical mastery. It comes with a dual responsibility, not only to build and innovate, but also to ensure that society understands and is prepared to engage with the technologies that we create. I want to explore this theme through three postulates or guiding ideas that I hope you will carry with you as we move forward. The first is this: build understanding, not just systems. The great astronomer of our times, Carl Sagan, cautioned us that we live in a society exquisitely dependent on science and technology, but in which hardly anyone knows anything about science and technology. This gap between the creators of technology and those who are subject to it is one of the defining tensions of our time. Technology has radically improved the quality of life in India since independence. From digital banking to crop science, from mobile connectivity to life-saving medical devices, it surrounds us. Yet the average Indian remains deeply unaware of how these systems function, and more importantly of how they affect their rights, their choices, and their agency. I saw it firsthand during the landmark Aadhaar case, where the Supreme Court recognized the right to privacy as a fundamental right. In my dissenting opinion, I raised concerns about the sweeping collection of biometric data, such as iris scans, fingerprints, without clear or informed consent. Many citizens at that time had no real understanding of what they were surrendering when they handed over their data. We have seen similar challenges in different countries and jurisdictions. In the United Kingdom, British police forces have deployed live facial recognition cameras in public spaces, such as shopping districts and train stations, under the premise of public safety. Yet several independent studies, such as the report by the privacy campaigning group Big Brother Watch, found that the systems had high error rates, particularly misidentifying people of color. Additionally, they were rolled out with minimal public awareness and scant regulatory oversight. Civil liberties groups raised concern that this creates a chilling effect on everyday behavior, such as people feeling watched even without having done anything wrong. Therefore, the responsibility that comes with technical expertise is no longer limited to design and execution. As students of science and engineering, your responsibility is also civic in nature. And that again brings me to the main theme of this address, that the modern engineer has a dual responsibility. First, to build and innovate, but just as importantly, second, to communicate, to guide, and to critically reflect on the impact of the systems which you create. To fulfill this responsibility, you must commit not only to building technologies, but to also foster public understanding. This is only possible by bridging the gap between complex systems and the people whose lives they touch. Clear and transparent communication is essential to empower individuals to make informed choices, to hold systems accountable, and to participate meaningfully in shaping the future of technology. Only then can innovation truly serve society in a responsible and ethical way. The tools you now possess, your knowledge, your code, your designs carry immense potential. Like all forms of power, technology has the ability to unite or divide, to include or exclude. Making sure it turns into a force for inclusion is the task at hand. Can a farmer in rural Rajasthan use your expertise to get fair market pricing just as easily as a city trader? Can your innovation simplify legal or healthcare systems that often overwhelm the most vulnerable? These are ethical issues, not merely technical ones. The real measure of engineering is not simply its size, but also if it subtly promotes equity, justice, and dignity for those who have historically been marginalized. When driven by compassion and purpose, even the most basic inventions can become potent change agents. Take the Jaipur foot, a low-cost prosthetic leg created in 1968 by craftsman Ramchandra Sharma and by physician P.K. Sethi. It allows amputees to walk, kneel and sit cross-legged, activities that are crucial in rural India, by simulating natural movement with rubber, wood and tire string. What started out as a kind response to a local need has expanded into a worldwide movement. More than 2.2 million prosthetic devices have been given away for free in dozens of countries, giving formerly marginalized people their freedom, mobility and dignity back. As both engineers and jurists are aware, genuine development is characterized by attention, inclusive, and relevance rather than by sophistication. Let the legacy of the Jaipur foot serve as a reminder that well-considered design can heal divisions and restore not only functionality, but also basic human dignity. As we reflect on what it means to build with care and conscience, we must also acknowledge the ethical crossroads at which technology stands today, particularly in the realm of artificial intelligence. AI systems are influencing decisions that have a real impact on people's lives and are no longer just the stuff of science fiction. They are not, however, value neutral. These systems often reflect the limitations of the data they are fed, sometimes unintentionally perpetuating social biases, whether in recruitment, financial access, or predictive analytics. Therefore, the onus is not only on technological precision, but also on making sure that these instruments are consistent with the values of justice and respect for human dignity that our Constitution preserves. Ethics must continue to be your most reliable algorithm in this era of rapid innovation. I'll give you just two examples which came to my court a little while before I retired. A young Dalit student who was admitted to IIT Dhanbad, whose father was a daily wage earner. He had to pay a small fee to get his admission completed. He took the credit card from his sister who had just secured employment, but by the time he uploaded his details, the cutoff date was over. Or the case of a medical student with a disability of 88%. The rules of the medical council said that you can't have a disability in excess of a threshold. And all the boards of assessment had said that, well, the disability exceeds what is prescribed by law. Now, if we were to rely exclusively on an AI design system, the answer was clear. In the first case, the Dalit student from seeking admission to IIT Dhanbad had crossed the time limit. In the second, the young student had clearly a disability more than the threshold. But in both cases, we interfered and ensured that admission was granted to them. For the first in IIT Dhanbad, and the other in the government medical college, one of the government medical colleges in Mumbai. So there is so much that AI can do, but there's so much that humans can do with all our imperfections, namely the ethical aspects of governance with the heart. It is not only a misconception, but also a serious risk to believe that AI is a neutral oracle or that it is unaffected by prejudice or consequences. Research has demonstrated how AI programs educated on historical data can replicate deeply ingrained inequalities such as caste and gender biases in credit scoring algorithms and employment. This problem must be tackled with ethical clarity in a constitutional democracy like ours. It cannot be seen in a purely technical manner. It is your duty as technologists to create systems that respect the rights and principles that guide our public life, in addition to operating well. Dignity, equality, privacy must be fundamental to what you create, not optional. In addition to being a legal foundation, our judgment in the Puttaswamy case upheld the notion of privacy by design, which views individuals as rights holders rather than as data points. Ask yourself if the person on the other side is respected in every line of code and systems you design. True ethical innovation starts with that inquiry, which is based on our constitutional guarantee. Which brings me to my second postulate. Technology must empower equitably and address local realities. The big question is, how do we ensure that technology works for all, especially for those living far away from big cities, in communities that are often overlooked or underserved? In the 1960s, 1970s and 1980s, the concern many had was about, quote unquote, the brain drain. Talented people leaving the country could, in the India of that era, feel like a loss. But I have a different take. And I want you to look at this from a different angle. I want you to see yourselves as global ambassadors of BITS and of Indian excellence. Professor Ram Gopal Rao has really shown the way by generating capital for BITS Pilani through their ambassadors spread across the length and breadth of the globe, who are now contributing back to the institution which sustained and nurtured them. You should absolutely absorb the best ideas, knowledge and innovations the world has to offer. But at the same time, never forget the fertile ground where your talent was nurtured. Facing global competition is inevitable for the India in which we live today. But remember, you're not just participants in the race. You are equipped to redefine the race. You have the power to drive equitable, decentralized development. What looks like drain can become undeniably a brain gain for the nation that invested in you. This is the true meaning of education. It is not just about understanding yourselves or your subjects better. It's about understanding the society around you. It gives you the lens to see what needs fixing and the tools to build those solutions. The postulation is about local context and local impact. It is about how you can be change makers where it matters most right here at home. I would like to share an example many of you will know. The Bollywood film Padman, which is based on the life of Arunachalam Muruganathan, played by Akshay Kumar. Muruganathan invented simple machines to produce modern sanitary napkins. His work gave millions of women in India and across the world access to hygiene. What he really did was to solve a public health crisis that India had struggled with for decades. He gave rural women the chance to reclaim their dignity by ensuring they had access to safe and hygienic period products. I realized when I took over as Chief Justice of India that most of our courts across India do not have sanitary napkin dispensers for women, which means that so many women are deprived of participation on an equal footing in the workplace. And that was part of our mission, therefore, to empower by using simple solutions to answer the basic call for dignity. Our Constitution recognizes that women have the fundamental right to equality and dignity. But in reality, due to social customs and poverty and stigma, many women still live like second-class citizens. They are on the margins of a dignified and healthy life. Many rural women have told us that not having access to sanitary napkins puts them at risk of infection and disease. They rely on old scraps of fabric during their periods. This means that many of them are forced to stay out of the workforce for several days every month. Just as simple, locally focused innovations like Mr. Muruganathan's sanitary napkin machine can transform lives, so too can cutting-edge technologies like AI. AI is often seen as something futuristic and distant, but it can have a real local impact right here in our communities. I would like to offer a few examples from the judiciary, an institution where I have spent most of my professional life, on how AI and technology can help revolutionize the system. In recent times, the Indian judicial system took steps to use technologies in ways that were once thought difficult. One such step was live streaming of court proceedings, which allowed citizens to watch how courts function, increasing transparency and helping people better understand the legal process. Of course, this change came with its share of difficulties. There were concerns about misuse of footage, sensationalism, and the strain on court infrastructure. Just the other day, we read about a lawyer who was sipping what was supposedly a glass of beer from a public park while addressing the court. Or we found a litigant who was using a toilet seat and connected to a live court hearing. So these are some of the flip sides of technology, but my take is that can't define whether we use technology, because we have no answer to the fact that technology is a true enabler. But even with these challenges, the system has recognized the larger role of transparency and accountability and continued on the path of reform. Another example is the use of AI software to transcribe oral arguments into text before constitution benches. This has helped build a rich, accessible repository of legal arguments for future generations, benefiting lawyers, and academicians, students, and anyone with an interest in the legal system. All the 37,000 judgments of the Supreme Court since independence are being translated into Hindi, and the work of translating the judgments into every language recognized by the Constitution is underway. Virtual courts offer yet another instance of reform. These are now active in over 20 states across India. They handle simpler matters like traffic challans, where appearing in person is not necessary. Imagine an auto rickshaw driver having to go to court and be overrun by a tout for dealing with a small fine of a few hundred rupees, or a truck driver who loses a day's wages by having to go to court. These online courts have made access to justice faster and more convenient. But once again, this too came with challenges. Not everyone has access to the internet, and not everyone is comfortable using digital platforms. So we had to ask, how do we ensure that this progress is inclusive? Firstly, local adaptability needs careful thought and planning. Technology, especially AI, cannot be a one-size-fits-all solution. India is a vast and diverse country with different languages and cultures and access levels to technology. For AI to truly empower people, it must adapt to these local realities. We have to ask ourselves, how can AI tools speak the language of the people they serve? How can they respect local customs and social dynamics? How can we ensure that these tools reach those in remote or underserved areas? The success of AI in the justice system shows us that progress is possible, but only when technology is shaped around the people it aims to help. That means involving local communities, listening to their voices and needs, and designing solutions that are inclusive, equitable, and sustainable. This is what engineering constitutional morality looks like in practice. It requires consciously building fundamental rights like privacy, equality, and dignity into the very foundations of the systems you create, making these values inseparable from technology itself. BITS campus at Kalyan has recently set up a unique initiative in the form of the Palette Center to facilitate capacity building and bring about a synergy between justice, technology, and the law. I would also like to explain this through a familiar example, UPI. It does not just make payments easier. UPI has democratized finance for millions of people, from rickshaw drivers to street vendors. I remember visiting several countries where paying by card or cash was often frustrating, slow, and expensive. Every transaction felt like a hassle, especially for small vendors and everyday workers. But here in India, UPI has made payments fast, simple, and affordable to everyone. This is the power of building strong, accessible digital commons that serve all layers of society. I urge all of you to think beyond just creating technology for the privileged few. Use your skills to build platforms that truly empower the many, that enhance democratic participation and make essential services reachable for every citizen. With this understanding, I want now to move towards the third and my last postulation, the responsibilities that come with emerging technologies. How do we ensure that as technology advances, it remains aligned with ethical considerations and societal well-being? The world which you are entering will not present straightforward technical problems with straightforward technical solutions. The leaps you will help drive in artificial intelligence, biotechnology, quantum computing will carry profound social, ethical, and existential weight. What does this mean for humanity? Who benefits and who is left out? As the science fiction writer Isaac Asimov observed, no sensible decision can be made without taking into account not only the world as it is, but the world as it will be. With the recent release of Jurassic World Rebirth, I assume many of you are familiar with the original Jurassic Park film. In that story, scientists achieved the remarkable feat of resurrecting dinosaurs through genetic engineering. But the system ultimately collapses because, as one character famously warns, and I quote, "Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should." This serves as a powerful cautionary tale about innovation without foresight. Every new discovery or invention has a ripple effect in society, on individual lives, and on our own shared future. Executives or even family members, tricking people into transferring large sums of money or revealing sensitive information. These fraudulent schemes show how this technology, if left unchecked, can seriously harm individuals and communities. I was deeply shocked when during my term as Chief Justice of India, I found that someone had replicated my voice, contacted someone into parting with crores of rupees, saying that they were guilty of a serious offense. That person was deprived of large sums of money on the assumption that they were speaking to the Chief Justice of India online. Thankfully, emerging technological solutions are being developed to address these challenges. Real-time multimodal detection systems that analyze voice, video, and behavioral patterns simultaneously are now achieving accuracy rates between 94 to 96% under optimal conditions. But the key to bridging the detection gap lies in continuous adaptation and building systemic resilience as malicious actors constantly evolve their tactics. As engineers and creators, you will need to work closely with lawyers, policymakers,